Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Humans weren't allowed to build warships. Success against all. The massive council hall gleamed under the light of twin suns inside the Earth. The delegation shifted uncomfortably as Ambassador Wilson signed the final documents that would formally admit humanity into the Galactic Council. The year was 2157, just 3 years after first contact, and humans were eager to join the interstellar community. Perhaps too eager. Section 27 be completely understood, asked High Counselor Vex, his blue skin reflecting the light as he leaned forward. Earth agrees to strict limitations on military vessel construction, no warships exceeding Class 3 defensive capability. Wilson nodded and signed the page. Earth understands and agrees. In the back of the room, Commander Jack Reynolds clenched his jaw. Class 3 meant little more than armed shuttles and patrol boats, nothing that could stand against a real threat, but he kept quiet. Earth needed this alliance. 6 months later, Reynolds stared at the holographic display in Earth Central Command. 3 human mining outposts in the asteroid belt had been raided in the past month. 17 dead, millions in resources stolen. "Play it again," he ordered. The security footage showed sleek black ships appearing suddenly, firing precision weapons and departing with stolen cargo. The entire attack lasted less than 10 minutes. "Valdorian pirates," said General Adams, pointing to markings on the ships. "Third attack this month, and what does the Council say?" Already knowing the answer, Reynolds replied, "They've issued a formal warning to the Valdorian government. They'll increase patrols in the sector eventually." Reynolds then walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling spaceport below. Earth's fleet of Class 3 vessels looked like toys compared to the massive Council ships buckling nearby. "We're sitting ducks, sir," he said quietly. "I know," Adams replied, "but our hands are tied by the treaty." Reynolds turned his eyes, narrowing. "Are they really?" 2 weeks later, Reynolds sat at a small table in the back of a bar in New Singapore. The ocean's edge was known as a place where space crews gathered and where conversations could remain private. A woman slid into the seat across from him. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and her eyes carried the focus of someone who'd spent years solving impossible problems. "Commander Reynolds, I'm Muriel. You wanted to talk about ship design." Reynolds nodded. "I reviewed your work on the Europa station, impressive modifications to the shield systems." Muriel shrugged. "The Council wouldn't approve the original specs. I had to get creative." "That's exactly why I called you." Reynolds leaned forward. "What if we got even more creative?" Over the next hour, Reynolds outlined his idea. Muriel listened, occasionally asking sharp questions or suggesting alternatives. When he finished, she sat back. "You're talking about breaking the treaty," she said finally. "I'm talking about protecting our people," Reynolds corrected. "The Council won't do it. We need to build ships that can. It would have to be completely off the books." "Black budget," Muriel mused. "I have some contacts in government who share my concerns." Muriel drummed her fingers on the table. "The technical challenges would be enormous. We'd need to disguise the weapon systems as something else entirely. Can it be done?" She smiled slowly. "Oh, it can be done. It won't be easy, but it can be done." One by one, Reynolds gathered his team. Muriel brought in 3 trusted engineers. Admiral Thompson, an old friend from Reynolds' Academy days, secured access to an abandoned mining facility on Triton, Neptune's largest moon, far from prying eyes. And Dr. Alan Foster, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, joined after a Valdorian raid hit a research station where his daughter worked. She survived, while 5 of her colleagues did not. "We'll need pilots," Thompson said during their first full meeting in the cold, pressurized chamber they had established as their base. "I know a few who can keep secrets," Reynolds replied. The facility had been idle for nearly a decade, shut down when more profitable mining operations opened in the asteroid belt. Now it would serve as the birthplace of humanity's true fleet. 2 months into the project, Reynolds stood on the observation deck watching as massive components were shuttled into the main construction bay. The skeletal frame of what would become their first ship was taking shape, when an incoming transmission from Earth called. Ambassador Wilson, one of the comm officers, Council inspection team arriving next week. They're doing random checks of all member species' shipyards. Reynolds exchanged a worried look with Muriel. How much could they detect from orbit? Too much, she replied. We need to mask our power signature and shield this whole facility for 3 days. For 3 days, the team worked non-stop, installing sensor baffles and reconfiguring the facility's power grid to appear as nothing more than a standard mining operation with minimal activity. When the Council ship passed by Neptune, they reported nothing unusual. We've got a problem, Foster announced as he walked into the command center where Reynolds was reviewing progress reports. The weapon systems won't integrate with our power grid. They draw too much energy. It would fry our circuits. Reynolds frowned. Solutions. We need better tech, Council-level tech. Foster looked uncomfortable. We need to steal it. Reynolds shook his head. No stealing, but I might have another way. 3 days later, Reynolds met with Marcus Bell, a scrapper who specialized in salvaging decommissioned alien tech. Bell's business was legal, barely focusing on technology that advanced races considered obsolete, but was still centuries ahead of human capabilities. Old Krellian shield generators, Bell laughed. Sure, I can get those. They're practically antiques to them. The Krellians upgraded their entire fleet 2 years ago. How many can you get and how quietly? Bell named his price. It was high, but Reynolds knew it would be worth it. 6 months into the project, disaster nearly struck. Reynolds was reviewing the latest modifications to the prototype vessel when the alarm sounded. Council Inspector Paddle's voice came over the comm. Transport shuttle incoming ETA 3 minutes. How did they find us? Reynolds demanded, already moving toward the main bay. They didn't, Thompson replied, joining him in the corridor. It's Inspector Drell. She's doing a routine check of all registered facilities in the system. Hide everything. Reynolds ordered, see to the lower levels. The team scrambled to conceal their work. Massive tarps covered the half-built ship, and equipment was moved to sealed chambers. When Inspector Drell landed, she found what appeared to be a minimal maintenance crew keeping the facility operational for future mining operations. A quite large staff for a dormant facility, she noted. Her compound eyes scanned the main hangar, preparing for reopening next year. Reynolds explained smoothly, Neptune's resources are becoming economically viable again. Drell seemed satisfied, though she spent an uncomfortably long time near the sealed doors to the lower levels. Finally, she departed. Too close, Thompson muttered as they watched her shuttle leave. Reynolds nodded. We need to accelerate the timetable. The longer we work, the more chances of discovery. 1 year after the project began, Reynolds stood in the control room as the first ship, named Phantom, prepared for its initial test flight. From the outside, it resembled a large cargo vessel. Inside, however, it contained weapons systems that could outfight anything the Vorans had. All systems ready, Muriel reported. Weapons disguised as standard equipment, energy signature masked to any observer. It'll look like a Class 3 transport with some custom modifications, all within treaty limits. Reynolds nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and apprehension. If they were caught, it would mean the end of Earth's membership in the Council at best, and possibly war at worst. Launch when ready, he ordered. The Phantom slipped silently from the hidden hangar and accelerated toward the darkness of the Kuiper Belt for its trial run. Reynolds knew there was no turning back. Humanity had taken its first steps toward real independence among the stars. The Phantom returned from its trial run in the Kuiper Belt, slipping quietly back into the hidden hangar on Triton. Reynolds watched through the observation window as the ship's engines powered down, a faint blue glow fading to darkness. From the outside, it looked like just another human cargo vessel with some minor modifications. No one would guess what it really was. How did she perform? Reynolds asked as Bell, their test pilot, entered the control room. Bell's face broke into a wide grin. Better than we hoped, weapon systems at 94% efficiency, and the old Krellian shield generators work perfectly with Muriel's integration system. We hit all the asteroids in the test field, and the energy signature never spiked above civilian levels. Reynolds allowed himself a small smile and added, "And the stealth systems? We passed within 500 kilometers of a council patrol. They hailed us as a routine cargo inspection, thinking we were hauling ice from the outer belt. They never suspected a thing." A round of quiet cheers went through the control room. Their gamble was paying off. The Council's own cast-off technology combined with human ingenuity had created something new, something dangerous. 2 days later, Reynolds called the core team together in what they now called the War Room, a converted mining office deep in the facility. "Phantom's success proves the concept works," he said, looking around at the tired but determined faces. "Now we scale up. I want 5 more ships built in the next 8 months. Merle frowned. 5? With our current resources and personnel, we might manage 2, maybe 3. "We're getting more resources," Thompson said, sliding a data tablet across the table. 3 more engineers are joining us next week, and I've secured additional funding through some creative accounting at Earth Command. Foster leaned forward. "I've been analyzing the tech Bell's been bringing in. The jury-rigged power converters that advanced races consider obsolete are 50 years ahead of our best models. If we install those instead of our human-built converters, we can increase weapon output by 30%. "Do it," Reynolds ordered, turning to Bell. "I need you to find us more salvage as much as you can without raising suspicions." Bell nodded. "I've got contacts on 6 trading stations. They can get us what we need. It won't be cheap, though money isn't the problem." Thompson said grimly, "Time is short. The Valdorians are getting bolder. Last week, they hit a passenger transport, 23 civilians dead." A heavy silence fell over the room. They all knew what was at stake. "Get it done," Reynolds said finally. "Whatever it takes." The next 3 months passed in a blur of activity. The hidden shipyard on Triton hummed with round-the-clock work as the frames of 3 new vessels took shape. Each was designed to look like a different class of civilian ship, a mining vessel, a research ship, and a colony transport, but all contained the same hidden weapons and defense systems. Merle had become the heart of the operation, constantly improving their designs and finding new ways to hide military technology under civilian appearances. Her latest innovation was what she called adaptive shielding, a defensive system that could be completely hidden until activated. "The genius is in the power distribution," she explained to Reynolds one night, her eyes bright despite her obvious exhaustion. "We routed everything through secondary systems that look like standard equipment, environmental controls, navigation systems, even the artificial gravity generators. They all serve double duty, and if the Council scans them, they'll see exactly what they expect to see, nothing more." 4 months into the expanded project, they faced their first major crisis. A supply ship carrying vital components from Earth failed to arrive on schedule. "What happened?" Reynolds demanded when he got the news. Thompson's face was grim on the video link. "Council inspection team detained the ship at the Mars checkpoint. They're doing a full cargo scan." Reynolds felt his blood run cold. The components were hidden as ordered, but a detailed scan might detect them. "Who's Inspector Drell again? She seems to have developed a special interest in human shipping," Reynolds thought quickly. "We need a distraction, something to pull her away from that ship." He turned to Bell. "How fast can you get to Mars?" Bell checked his watch. 8 hours if I push the engines." "Do it. Take the Phantom. We're going to create a more interesting target for Inspector Drell." Bell's mission was simple but risky. Pilot the Phantom near the Mars checkpoint, ensuring its systems gave off just enough unusual readings to attract attention, then lead any pursuit on a chase through the asteroid belt before disappearing back to Triton. The plan worked, mostly. Drell took the bait, ordering her inspection ship to pursue the Phantom when its scans showed inconsistencies. The supply ship was released and continued to Triton, but in the asteroid belt, Bell had to push the Phantom harder than expected to evade capture. "We've got a problem," Bell reported after returning safely. "I had to use the enhanced thrusters to escape." "Drell's sensors definitely picked that up," Reynolds said. "She knows something's not right with that ship." "Did she identify you?" Bell asked. I stayed out of visual range and masked our comm signals, but she'll be looking for that ship now. Reynolds made a difficult decision. We retire the Phantom, dismantle it for parts. It's too risky to use it again. Muriel looked pained. All that work. We go into the new ships, Reynolds assured her. Nothing wasted, and we've learned valuable lessons about what Council sensors can detect. 6 months into the expanded project, they had 3 new ships nearing completion. The Harrier, disguised as a mining vessel, the Osprey appearing to be a research ship, and the largest, the Peregrine, masquerading as a colony transport. Each incorporated improvements based on what they'd learned from the Phantom. Each was more deadly and more carefully disguised. But as the project grew, so did the risks of discovery. More personnel meant more chances for information leaks. Larger resource diversions meant more complex cover stories. Reynolds instituted strict security protocols. The facility was divided into sections, with only the core team having access to all areas. Most workers knew only their specific tasks, not the full scope of the project. Despite these precautions, Reynolds couldn't shake the feeling that they were living on borrowed time, and his fears proved justified. 7 months into the project, an urgent message arrived from Earth. Council representatives are asking pointed questions about resource allocations, General Adams reported via secure channel. Someone in the budget office noticed the discrepancies. I've covered as best I can, but Drell is personally reviewing our shipbuilding records now. How long do we have? Reynolds asked. A week, maybe less. She's requesting permission to inspect all human shipyards and facilities, including inactive ones. Reynolds looked at the ships under construction. The Harrier and Osprey were nearly ready, but the Peregrine needed at least 3 more weeks. Accelerate everything, he ordered after briefing the core team. The Harrier and Osprey need to be operational in 5 days. Move all non-essential personnel to the Peregrine team. We'll finish what we can. The next 5 days were a frenzy of activity. Sleep was forgotten as the teams worked around the clock. Systems were installed before compartments were fully sealed. Tests were abbreviated or skipped entirely. On the 5th day, the Harrier and Osprey were moved to the launch bay. They weren't perfect, but they would fly and fight if needed. The Peregrine remained frustratingly incomplete. Its weapon systems were only partially installed. We're out of time, Thompson reported, looking at the latest message from Earth. Drell was scheduled to leave for Triton tomorrow morning, and Reynolds looked at their small fleet. 2 completed ships, 1 partial, and crews hastily trained on systems they barely understood. It wasn't what he had planned. It might not be enough, but it was what they had. Launch the Harrier and Osprey, he ordered. Hide them in the Saturn rings until we call. Evacuate all non-essential personnel from the facility. The rest of us will stay to meet Inspector Drell. As the ship silently departed, carrying the hopes of the project with them, Reynolds turned to Muriel. Now we prepare our welcome for the Inspector, he said grimly, and pray she doesn't look too closely at what we've left behind. Inspector Drell's ship arrived with the cold precision that marked all Council operations. It docked at the main airlock of the Triton facility without requesting permission, a clear message that this was not a courtesy visit. Reynolds stood waiting, his face carefully neutral as the airlock cycled and Drell stepped through. Her insect-like features revealed nothing, but the 6 armed guards accompanying her spoke volumes. Commander Reynolds, she said, her translator giving her voice a metallic edge. I am surprised to find you personally overseeing an inactive mining facility. We value all our operations, Reynolds replied smoothly, even the temporarily dormant ones. Drell's compound eyes seemed to take in everything at once. Indeed, my scans show considerable power usage for a dormant facility and unusual communications traffic, preparations for reopening. Reynolds explained, we're testing systems and training personnel. Then you won't mind a full inspection, Drell stated bluntly. It wasn't a question. For the next 6 hours, Drell and her team moved methodically through the facility. Reynolds and Muriel accompanied them, explaining away irregularities and directing attention from sensitive areas. A half-built Peregrine remained hidden behind heavy doors marked as unsafe, structural collapse risk. They almost succeeded. As the inspection neared its end, one of Drell's assistants approached her, speaking rapidly in their native language. Drell's posture changed immediately. "Your power distribution network shows some interesting modifications, Commander," she said, turning to Reynolds. "Modifications that seem unnecessary for mining operations." Before Reynolds could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility and emergency lights flashed red. A voice called over the intercom, "Security breach at the colony on Proxima Centauri. All available personnel report to communications." Reynolds feigned surprise and concern. "You'll have to excuse me, Inspector. This is an emergency. I will accompany you." Drell said firmly, "I must inspect immediately." In the communications center, the main screen showed chaos. The human colony on Proxima Centauri was under attack. Black ships, the Valdorian raiders, swarmed around the settlement dome, but there were too many for a simple raid. "This is an invasion," Thompson said. Not having to fake her horror, Drell's face showed genuine shock as she witnessed the chaos. "The Council must be notified immediately." "How long will that take, Inspector?" Reynolds asked. "Hours, days. How many will die while the Council deliberates? The protocols are clear. Member species may not engage in military action without Council approval." Reynolds looked at the screen, watching as another building on the colony exploded under Valdorian fire. "There are 10,000 people on that colony," he said quietly, "including 3,000 children." For a moment, Drell's alien face showed uncertainty, then it hardened. "I understand your concern, Commander, but the treaty is clear." Reynolds made his decision. "General Adams," he said, opening a secure channel to Earth Command, "the Valdorians are attacking Proxima Centauri. Request permission to deploy special assets." Adams appeared on the screen, his face grim. He looked at Reynolds, then at Drell, understanding immediately what Reynolds was asking and what it would mean. "Permission granted, Commander. Save our people." Drell stepped forward. "You have no special assets to deploy, Commander, unless—" Her compound eyes seemed to widen slightly as understanding dawned. "You've built warships," she stated. Reynolds didn't deny it. Thompson immediately signaled. The Harrier and Osprey battle stations set course for Proxima Centauri at maximum speed. "This is a direct violation of the treaty," Drell said coldly. "Earth will face serious consequences," Reynolds replied. "There will be no Earth left to face consequences if we let our colonies fall one by one." "You can arrest me if you want, Inspector," Reynolds continued, "but those ships are going to Proxima." On board the Harrier, Admiral Kira Thompson took command of the small fleet she had left at the Triton facility just before Drell's arrival, knowing her place was on the bridge in case things went wrong. "Status report," she ordered as the ship accelerated away from its hiding place in the Saturn rings. "All systems operational," reported her second in command. "Weapons charged and ready. Osprey is in formation awaiting orders." "Set course for Proxima Centauri. Push the engines to maximum. That will reveal our true capabilities," Thompson ordered, though an officer warned. "That will reveal our power signature." Thompson's face was set with determination. "It doesn't matter now. We're past hiding." As the ships accelerated to speeds no human vessel was supposed to achieve, Thompson addressed the crews via shipwide communication. "This is Admiral Thompson speaking. By now you all know we're heading into battle against the Valdorian forces attacking our colony at Proxima Centauri. What you may not know is that by doing so, we are violating Council law." She paused, letting that sink in. "These ships we've built together in secret and against Council prohibition are humanity's first true warships in the interstellar age. Today they will serve their purpose. Today we defend our own." A cheer went up from both ships. The crews had known the risks when they signed on, and now they would face the consequences together. Back on Earth, the news of the secret fleet and its mission spread quickly. Emergency sessions of government were convened. Council representatives demanded explanations, protests erupted, some against the treaty violation, but many more in support of defending the colony. In the presidential office, President Morgan faced the Council's chief diplomat. "Your people have committed a grave breach of trust," the diplomat said. The Council demands you recall these illegal vessels immediately. Morgan stood firm. We requested Council protection for our colonies multiple times over the past year. Each time we were told patrol schedules couldn't be adjusted, or that the Valdorian raids were minor incidents, not worthy of a major response. She pointed to the live feed showing the attack on Proxima Centauri. Does this look minor to you? They're slaughtering civilians while your council debates procedures. Nevertheless, building warships violates what we built. Morgan interrupted. Our ships are capable of defending our people when no one else will. If that violates your treaty, then perhaps the treaty needs to change. In the darkness of space, the Harrier and Osprey pushed toward Proxima Centauri. The small bridge crew on the Harrier worked in focused silence, each aware of the historic nature of their mission. Admiral Thompson called the sensor officer. I'm detecting multiple ships ahead, Valdorian signatures on at least 20 vessels. Thompson studied the tactical display. The Valdorian fleet substantially outnumbered them, but numbers weren't everything. They don't know what we're capable of, she said. Let's show them. As they approached the Proxima Centauri system, Thompson finalized her battle plan. The Harrier would engage the main Valdorian fleet, drawing their fire and attention. The Osprey would use its superior stealth capabilities to slip past the battle line and provide direct protection to the colony. We reach attack range in 10 minutes, reported navigation. The Vorans have detected us but don't appear concerned. They've only redirected 2 ships to intercept. They think we're standard human vessels, Thompson said with a grim smile. Just what we wanted them to think. Until now, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. These next hours will determine not just the fate of the colony, but possibly humanity's place in the galactic community. All hands to battle stations. Activate all weapon systems. Divert power from disguise mechanisms to shields and weapons. Throughout both ships, hidden panels slid open, revealing weapon emplacements. Power surged through systems that had been kept dormant until now. On their hulls, the false markings of civilian vessels faded, replaced by the stark identification of Earth's first interstellar warships. Signal the Osprey, Thompson said, as the first Valdorian ships came into weapons range. Operation Defiance is a go. The vastness of space, the Valdorian fleet hung above Proxima Centauri, their black ships forming a deadly web around the human colony. Through the viewscreen of the Harrier, Admiral Thompson could see flashes of weapons fire as the ground defenses fought desperately against landing parties. They've spotted us, reported the tactical officer. 2 ships breaking formation to intercept. Thompson nodded, just as expected. Status of weapons, all systems green, targeting solutions ready. Hold fire until my command. Let them think we're standard human vessels right up until the last moment. On the bridge, the crew worked with quiet efficiency as the 2 Valdorian interceptors approached confidently, no doubt expecting easy targets. They hailed the Harrier. Put them through, Thompson ordered. A harsh, reptilian face appeared on screen. The Valdorian captain bared his teeth in what might have been a smile. Human vessels, power down and prepare to be boarded. Your colony is now under Voran control. Thompson's face remained calm. We are unarmed transport ships responding to a distress call. Please allow us to evacuate civilians. The Valdorian captain laughed. There will be no evacuations. You will surrender your ships or be destroyed. I understand, Thompson said calmly. Then after the communication ended, she turned to her crew. Battle stations, weapons hot, show them what we really are. As the Voran ships closed to firing range, the Harrier and Osprey suddenly transformed. Hidden weapon ports opened, shield generators powered up to full capacity, and targeting systems locked on. They're scanning us, reported a tactical officer, reading confusion in their communications. Fire, Thompson ordered. The Harrier's main weapons, salvaged Krellian pulse cannons that no human ship should possess, fired in perfect synchronization. The first Valdorian ship's shields collapsed almost instantly. The second blast tore through its hull, leaving it drifting and powerless. The second interceptor tried to turn away, but the Osprey was already flanking it. A barrage of precisely targeted shots disabled its engines and weapons systems without destroying the vessel. First blood to us, Thompson said grimly. But they know we're here now. The real fight is about to begin. On the Valdorian command ship, Commander Vrax watched in disbelief as sensor data showed the fate of his interceptors. "Impossible," he snarled. "Humans don't have ships with that firepower." His second-in-command studied the readings. "These are not standard human vessels, Commander. The energy signatures suggest advanced weapon systems, possibly Council-level technology." Vrax's scales darkened with rage. How did these primitives acquire such weapons? "It doesn't matter. We still outnumber them 10-1. Redirect half the fleet to destroy those ships. Continue the ground assault with the rest aboard the Harrier." Thompson watched as 10 Valdorian warships broke away from the main fleet and headed toward them. "They've taken the bait," she said with satisfaction. "Execute Phase 2. The Harrier turned to face the oncoming Valdorian ships directly, while the Osprey powered down non-essential systems and slipped away using the stealth technology Muriel had perfected. "We're outnumbered 5-1, a tactical officer reminded her. "Then we'd better make every shot count," Thompson replied. "Initiate attack pattern Delta, target their lead ships first." The Harrier accelerated toward the Valdorian formation, its engines pushing to limits that would have been impossible with standard human technology. It fired a full spread of weapons as it closed the distance, striking the lead Valdorian ship before it could fully raise shields. The Valdorians returned fire immediately. Energy beams and projectiles streaked through space toward the human vessel. Reynolds ordered evasive maneuvers. "Activate adaptive shielding," Thompson ordered. Muriel's greatest innovation sprang to life. Unlike standard shields that created a fixed energy barrier, the adaptive shields redirected power dynamically, strengthening defenses exactly where impacts were expected. Though the Voran weapons struck, they did far less damage than anticipated. The shields held at 82%, as reported by engineering. "They're surprised by our defenses. Keep moving," Thompson ordered. "Don't give them a static target." The Harrier danced through space, firing with precision at the Valdorian ships while absorbing their return fire. Smaller and more agile than its foes, it used maneuverability to avoid the crossfire of multiple opponents. One Valdorian ship exploded as a lucky shot found its power core. Another drifted as its weapons were disabled, while the remaining 8 pressed their attack, surrounding the Harrier in a tightening circle. Shields dropped to 43%, and engineering called out, "We can't take much more of this." Thompson studied the tactical display. They were drawing more Valdorian ships away from the colony, which was part of the plan, but they wouldn't survive much longer against these odds. "Where's our miracle?" Muriel muttered. Meanwhile, the Osprey had reached the colony undetected. Captain Lewis guided the ship into low orbit, positioning it between the settlement and the remaining Valdorian vessels. "Ground defenses are nearly overwhelmed," his tactical officer reported. "Valdorian troops have breached the outer ring of the colony. Target the ground forces first." "Lewis, precision strikes only. There are civilians in those buildings." The Osprey revealed its presence, its weapons firing with surgical precision at Valdorian landing craft and ground positions. The sudden appearance of a human warship in their midst created chaos among the Valdorian forces. "Colony Defense Command is hailing us," communications reported. "Put them through." On the screen, Major Reed, the colony's defense commander, appeared. His face was streaked with blood and smoke, but his eyes widened in shock when he saw the interior of a warship bridge. "What kind of ship is this?" he demanded. "The kind that's going to save your colony," Major Lewis replied. "We need to coordinate. Can your people designate targets for us?" Reed nodded quickly, understanding that questions could wait. "Uploading target data now. We have civilians trapped in the western quadrant. If you can clear a path, we can evacuate them to the central bunkers. Consider it done." Back in the space battle, the Harrier was in trouble. 3 of the Valdorian ships had been disabled, but the remaining 5 had the human vessel surrounded. Shields were failing, and whole breaches had been reported on 2 decks. "Root out all non-essential power to shields," Thompson ordered. The communications officer received a transmission from the Osprey. "They've reached the colony and engaged the ground forces." Thompson allowed herself a small smile. Send our final telemetry to them. If we don't make it, they'll need our data on Valdorian shield frequencies. Just then, the tactical display changed. 3 of the Valdorian ships attacking suddenly broke off and headed back toward the colony. They've detected the Osprey, a tactical officer reported. That's our chance, Thompson said. Focus all fire on the closest remaining ship. We need to break out of this trap. The Harrier's weapons concentrated on a single target, finally breaking through its shields and disabling its main systems. With a gap in the Valdorian formation, Thompson ordered, "Maximum thrust, get us back to the colony." She continued, "The Osprey will need our help against those reinforcements." As the Harrier limped away from the battle, damage control teams worked frantically to repair what they could. Despite the damage, Thompson knew the ship was not beaten yet. "How long until we reach the colony?" she asked. 4 minutes at current speed, replied navigation. Thompson nodded. All hands prepare for round 2, this fight isn't over. On the Valdorian command ship, Commander Vrax watched in growing rage as his carefully planned assault fell into chaos. These human ships fought like nothing he had faced before, his second-in-command hesitantly reported. The colony's defenses are rallying with support from the human warship, and our ground forces are taking heavy losses. Vrax slammed a clawed hand on his command console. This was supposed to be an easy victory. How do these humans have this technology? A new alert sounded. The damaged human ship is returning from the outer battle. It's on course to reinforce the colony. Vrax made his decision. Prepare my shuttle. I will lead the final assault personally and send a message to our allies in the council. Tell them we need reinforcements immediately. As the Harrier approached the colony, Thompson could see the Osprey engaged with 3 Valdorian warships while simultaneously providing fire support to the colony. It was fighting brilliantly, but was clearly outnumbered. "Target the lead Valdorian ship," Thompson ordered. "Let's even these odds." The Harrier announced its arrival with a full weapons barrage that caught the Valdorians by surprise. One of their ships took heavy damage, its engines flaring and then dying as systems failed. The Osprey was hailing them. Communications reported, "Captain Lewis, your bridge is filled with smoke, but your crew remains at their stations." "Good timing, Admiral. We were starting to feel lonely down here. Status report." "We've pushed back the ground forces and the colonists are retreating to hardened shelters. But there's a new problem. Sensors show a Valdorian command shuttle heading for the main settlement dome. High-value target, possibly their commander." Thompson studied the tactical data. "This could be our chance to end this. If we capture their commander." A plan formed quickly in her mind. A risky plan, but they were long past playing it safe. "Captain Bell," she called to the Harrier's pilot, "set a course to intercept that shuttle. We're going to attempt to capture it." Bell, who had proven himself time and again in training simulations, nodded confidently. "Just get me close enough, Admiral. I'll do the rest." As the battle raged around the colony, the Harrier broke away to pursue the single shuttle, a small target that might change the course of the entire conflict. The Harrier chased the Valdorian command shuttle through the upper atmosphere of Proxima Centauri b.